you're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
Do you feel it?
Yes, we do.
A worldwide awakening is upon us. Welcome to the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Where we explore topics such as UFOs, aliens, banned medical cures, as well as classified secret knowledge. Come question your holographic existence. Share experiences from the other side. This is a show that will expand your mind as we decrypt the symbolic messages locked away deep within your DNA. And now, your guides for this magical journey. The hosts of the Universal Consciousness Show, Aage, Nost, and Diana Seraphim.
Hello, hello. Yes, you're listening to the Universal Consciousness Show, and this is the show for the thinking global citizen. And you know, there's a lot less of us than people that is still sitting in the box staring at the walls there. It is a lot more fun out here. And like I have been saying for a while, I'm so far outside of the box now, I don't even know where the box is anymore. So we have a fascinating guest for you, but first I want to tell you a little bit about how you can connect with us. My name is Aage, and I'm one of the hosts. My co-host Diana over in Germany is not going to be with us tonight, or today, or this morning, or this afternoon, wherever you are around the world. So she'll be with us next week. For those of you that like to hear this show again, you will find us where we have it archived on our website, at the universalconsciousnessshow.com, and also we're on YouTube under Universal Consciousness Show. We're on Facebook under my name and Universal Consciousness Show. We're on Twitter, iTunes, TuneIn, and a bunch of other places. And of course, on kcorradio.com in the archives. You will also find us there. So, and also, down at the bottom of KCOR Radio website, there is a donate button. So if you feel like we are doing the right thing and you like to support us that way also, we would love to see it, because it tells us that, yes, we are doing the right thing and we're appreciated. So we will thank you either way. We'll love you even if you can't. So just be there and keep coming back, and you're going to get some interesting stuff every time. And now let me get to the guest. We have Crystal Dawn with us. She's a yoga teacher. She has classes on yoga and do counseling, and also counseling with some really neat things for couples. But who better to explain about Crystal Dawn than Crystal? So tell us about you, Crystal, how you got where you are today and what you're doing and so on. So welcome to the show.
Hi, Aage. Thank you so much for having me and inviting me to be part of this. I love.
Yeah, don't we all?
Yeah. And specifically for yoga, I grew up as a dancer, dance team in junior high, and cheerleading in high school. And a lot of the movements that I did growing up as a child were asana, for years. I practiced yoga without even knowing that I was doing yoga. And probably 25 years ago, I took my first yoga class and discovered this deep meditative quality of movement that reminded me of that place inside myself as a young child, where I was like focused on just the one thing, and my breathing and my body. And so I guess it was 2005, and my father passed away. He was hit by a truck, and that's when I found yoga again as a practice to assist in my grieving process. And so it was, gym, yoga. I'd go every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that yoga class turned what was my numb, grieving, sad self into my ecstatic living. I could feel again. And one day in yoga, I started crying. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not crying because I'm sad about my dad. I'm crying because I feel something again. I feel alive. I feel happy. I feel connected to myself.
Oh, that was a transformation, wasn't it?
It really was. And it was such a surprise. It was such a transformational moment that led me to my next careers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it can be fun.
Oh my gosh, so much fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it keeps you healthy, keeps you strong, keeps your mind active and healthy too.
Yeah, there are so many benefits to yoga. I came from a background of kind of new age hippie meditation, and so then when I found yoga, and then specifically when I found Cloud9 yoga, everything that I had done up until this point was preparing me to be part of Cloud9.
Yeah. Let's talk a little about those health benefits from yoga. I used to do yoga years and years ago for a while, and then I got involved in other things and I quit. And I kind of wish I hadn't, because I know there's phenomenal benefits, not just for the body, but for the mind too.
So the benefits of yoga are mind, body, spirit. They go beyond just the physical benefits. Of course, there are every system of the body benefits from all the different practices of yoga, not just the asana part, not just the physical part, but the nervous system, moving from stress response to relaxation response. And then with asana, the physical practice of yoga is definitely stressing the body in a way. So it's like exercising the nervous system to move into stress, but then move into relaxation, move into sympathetic nervous system, move into parasympathetic nervous system. And what I love about that tonifying of the nervous system is that it works the physical body, but it's also working the energetic body. It's tonifying your energy meridians. It's tonifying your emotional body. It's tonifying your ability to digest food and digest life experiences.
Yeah, it kind of fine-tunes both body, mind, and spirit, doesn't it?
It really does. And what I love about the practice of yoga is that it's very individual. It was, it's been in practice for over 5,000 years. The ancient rishis, the monks in the Himalayas, in the mountains of the Himalayas, they retreated there to go deep into their meditative states. And so the asana part, the physical part, was brought about so that they could meditate even longer and sit for even longer and go even deeper and move into a meditative place where they can see and hear the vibrational strings of what is. And so they invented Sanskrit. They saw and heard the vibration of what is, and then they created the sounds that matched what they saw and heard.
Yeah, and it appears to me as, yoga is more like an attunement process, but it's probably more than that. It's also a good exercise. I'm doing the Tibetan rites, and it is a very good exercise, but it doesn't give you much muscle exercise. It doesn't build muscle so much as it keeps it strong and healthy otherwise. Is it somewhat similar with yoga, maybe too? If somebody really want to build muscle, maybe they should add something to it, or is yoga enough also to build muscle?
Actually, we just talked about this yesterday in yoga teacher training. It pretty much gets every muscle. If you're doing asana and you're doing, a stronger practice, there's muscle building for almost every muscle except for the biceps, because there's not much pulling in yoga. So that's about the only muscle that gets missed. So we do recommend, if you're wanting to build physical muscle, to cross train. But as far as the Tibetan rites, I think they do build muscle, because you're moving up and down. There's some movements in those 5 exercises that are specifically strengthening your abs and your arms, and I believe the Dalai Lama does those every day. Yes. Yeah. That's what I hear. And of course, I have added a few things to it so that it kind of pretty much give me a little extra beyond the Tibetan rites. And I think that's a good thing to do. Do you stay mostly with the yoga exercise, or have you also added some other things to it in addition? As far as physical movement, yoga is my thing. I really have found that it's my favorite way of getting movement. But dancing, ecstatic dance, creative joint play, finding ways to move my body in new and creative ways, and really sprinkling as much movement throughout my day as possible has been how I cross train. Although my body has been giving me some messages that I might want to start lifting weights or do some kind of weight-bearing activities to strengthen my bones. Yeah, because that's the other part about asana. The physical part of yoga doesn't necessarily put impact on your bones. And so, people really need impact on their bones to create strong and healthy bones, especially as we grow older. Yeah, that's what I hear. And what can you say about mind training when it comes to yoga? Because there's body, mind, and spirit. So the mind training should also go along with the body training. What can you say about that? Mind training and body training, it's all connected. I feel like there are some physical postures in yoga that are automatically creating all the focus of the mind into the body, like handstands and inversions and arm balances. It is almost impossible to think of anything else besides what you're doing with your body. And that, being a big thinker, being someone who, lots going on in my mind, a creative, yoga has given me the restfulness and the quiet peace of mind that I crave. And so what I love about yoga and the body-mind connection is that single-pointed focus, which is one of the 8-limb path. There's 8 parts to yoga, and most people only think about the asana part, only think about the physical movements, but there's 7 other practices that are just as important, maybe even more important. So the mind part of yoga, there's the single pointed focus. There's withdrawal of the senses, where all energy and thought are in this place of turning inward toward yourself, giving yourself attention, giving yourself a time on the mat where maybe the mind wanders, but there's encouragement to continually come back to yourself over and over and over. Come back to your own thoughts. Watch your thoughts. Feel into what your body is doing, and then let your mind let you be an observer of your mind and watch and witness the mind.
Yeah, and Stephanie sent us a question on Twitter. Could you answer a quick question?
Yes.
Yeah, she says, I was going to get into yoga, but in my area, I noticed there was so many different names or variations of it. Is all yoga pretty much the same? And how do you know which version will work for you?
That's a great question, Stephanie. No, yoga is not all the same. And my invitation to people that are new to yoga or wanting to get into yoga is to look for beginners yoga classes, look for yoga level 1 and 2, yoga, gentle yoga. There's so many different names that people give their yoga classes, and there's so many different types. Like there's flow yoga, it's like one breath, one movement. There's yoga that's kind of more westernized, like more power yoga, and I wouldn't recommend that style for beginners unless you're an athlete already. But I do invite people to experiment and try different yoga studios in their neighborhoods, in their cities. And a lot of yoga spaces have, intro, like $20 or $25 for 2 weeks, unlimited yoga. And so I invite people to like try out that studio, try out as many classes as they can during that period, and then find their favorite teachers and find people that they resonate with, and find the different, like, don't give up just after one yoga class where like, oh, that was not for me. Like, keep experimenting with different spaces and teachers, because even within one style of yoga, each teacher has their own style of yoga. And so I love inviting people to experiment with all the studios in their neighborhood and really find their favorite style, and really find the one that gives them that peace and that connection between themselves and their deeper selves. So there's hundreds of styles of yoga, and everyone has their own preferences. I mean, do you want to get sweaty? Do you want to make it a workout where you're like, whew, that was rough? Or do you want like a meditative experience of just slow flow, deep stretch? So it depends on what you want, Stephanie, and it depends on your intention. So they're not all yoga is the same, and not all yoga teachers are the same, and not all lineages are the same, because there's things like Kundalini yoga, which is very different than, say, Ashtanga yoga, and great question.
And thank you, Stephanie. That was actually a very good question, because this is probably something that everybody would wonder about. How do I start out, and where do I go, and what kind of levels of yoga is there? My question would be, how far can we really go with this? Is there a graduate level, or we know where to start? That's basically knowing nothing. And then how far can we actually go with it? Is there a place where you pretty much have learned everything?
Oh my gosh, it's so funny that you're asking that, because even as a teacher and a teacher trainer who teaches teachers, there's still more to discover and learn, and there's always a more advanced pose, like always. I have discovered that, especially teaching all levels, and people have been practicing yoga for 20 years, but then they're in the same class with someone who is their first yoga class. it's really important to me to invite students to go to their level, and then to see that there is something to look forward to. There's, in time, there's this next variation of the same posture where you're going even deeper, where you're going, where you've got to be even stronger and more flexible, or or have a better balance. So.
Yeah, I suppose there is no graduate level then. We just got to keep going and learning more and practicing more and becoming more at what we strive to be.
Yeah, I mean, even if someone does a 200-hour yoga teacher training, then there's the 300-hour advanced yoga teacher training, and then there's workshops. And I mean, there's so many people offering their genius in what they love about yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a continued student. I will always be a student.
Yeah. Yeah, and for people that want to learn, I suppose that the health benefits is some of the first things they will probably discover, isn't it? Maybe being more limber, maybe possibly helping on arthritis and things like that. They could see some of that fairly quickly, couldn't they?
Absolutely. I get a lot of feedback from students that if they don't go to yoga, their body starts hurting. I mean, I get feedback from my own body. If I'm not practicing, if I'm not moving, and if I'm not doing a down dog every day, my feet start to hurt. Or, so there's definite benefits that you can see just after even a week or two of practicing, or even after one class, just feeling the relief of just moving into relaxation response.
Yeah, and that's how I feel after the Tibetan rites when I do it in the evening. There was, you feel great, like, I really don't want to go to bed right now, but I probably should. It's that kind of feeling?
Yeah. So you're doing them in the evening. I love that. Even the spinning?
Yeah. Yeah, and we got 1 minute left to break here, and I wanted to alert the listeners. When we come back, we're going to talk about some nifty stuff that Crystal is doing with couples. This is something that maybe you want to listen to, because especially if you are married or in a relationship or have someone that you care about, this is how to stay in the perpetual honeymoon. And that's the cliffhanger. So let's go to break, and then we'll be back right afterwards.
You're listening to the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Your weekly connection to the truth.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Share your knowledge by calling our hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Call now.
Worldwide callers find us on Skype at KCOR Radio. It's time to abandon your fear and question what you think you know.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
More awakening awaits.
After this, after this, after this, after this, after this, after this.
Are you ready? Ready to go inside the Matrix? Inside the Matrix.
You see, whoever controls technology controls the world.
Then tune in Sundays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, as your host, Jimmy Brent, takes you deep inside the holographic Matrix.
Carefully designed to stimulate the mind.
Come explore a world of topics from technology, archaeology, spirituality, and so much more.
Inside the Matrix
will liberate you from the manipulated, parasitic entities of consciousness.
You guys ready for this?
It's time to claim your true natures as creative, divine beings inside the Matrix. Hosted by Jimmy Brent.
Who are we talking about?
Jimmy Brent. Live Sundays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Inside the Matrix.
Investigating and analyzing the experience of life. 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 Life.
Toxins are everywhere, from the air we breathe to the food we eat and the water we drink. In a world where 80,000 known toxins and heavy metals threaten our very existence, how are you going to protect yourself and your loved ones? Introducing Pure Body Extra Strength, the world's first colloidal zeolite that helps trap and remove toxins as well as heavy metals from your body that are messing with your memory, clarity, sleep, and focus. Don't just take our word for it or the testimonials from our thousands of happy customers. Check out the hundreds of articles and case studies on the National Institute of Health website proving zeolite's powerful ability to remove toxins. For a limited time, listeners to KCOR will receive 10% off their first order. To get started, go to trypurebody.com and enter promo code RADIO10. Again, that's trypurebody.com. Toxic junk is all around us, but now you can take back control of your health and protect yourself by detoxing with Pure Body Extra Strength. You'll be on your way to sleeping better, thinking more clearly, and feeling more energetic. Go to trypurebody.com right now and get started today.
Monday nights are about to become hauntingly good, as Reverend Sean Whittington possesses the airwaves with Vegas Supernatural. Tune in every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for Vegas Supernatural, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. There's a war raging between good and evil. The question is, which side are you fighting on? Tune in Monday nights as Reverend Sean Whittington sets the new standard for paranormal radio with some of the most influential personalities in the world today. Vegas Supernatural, hosted by Reverend Sean Whittington, every Monday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The one show even the devil doesn't want you to hear.
It's showtime! You're listening to the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Broadcasting from the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Their base is so large it has to draw most of its power from the nearby nuclear fusion plant.
The future of radio is here and now.
Going live in 3, 2, 1.
It's time, once again, to unravel the mysteries of the universe by connecting the dots to a higher consciousness. This is the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Now the world will begin hearing us.
Share your knowledge by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
It's as simple as that.
Find us on Twitter at KCOR Radio or use hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us on the live chat at KCORradio.com. Back to your enlightened hosts, Aage Nost and Diana Seraphine.
Hello. We are back with the Universal Consciousness Show, and we are talking to Crystal Dawn. And she's a yoga teacher for those that joined us late. And yoga can tie into a lot of different things. And in this segment, we're going to talk about something really nifty that she's doing with couples. And what she says is that this can help us, well, hey, you're talking to a single guy here, so we're going to talk about sex, we could talk about love and sex and sex. Okay, let's go.
Oh, that was so funny. You cut out for a second there, and then you came back, and all I heard was love and sex and love. And
did I mention sex? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't hear your question, but I do love talking about sex, and I love talking about the yoga of relationship, to enjoying conscious relating. I did hear the part where you said you were single.
Yeah, and sex. Yeah, okay. Oh, I'm going to be all ears. Because even though, I am kind of by myself here, I am very interested in this subject because who knows, some days something might happen. So it is all yours.
Yeah. What I love about talking about relationships and conscious relating and conscious lovemaking, and how the practices of yoga really deepen relationships and people's potential to create relationships or co-create relationships is what I'm really interested in, as opposed to codependent relationships. But co-creative relating excites me. And one of the ways that I invite couples to create conscious relating is through the art of the toss. And this I learned from my mentors, Gay and Katie Hendricks, who have perfected relating in their own relationship. They call these practices kitchen tested and bedroom approved. So would you like to hear about the art of the toss?
Oh, I am all ears. Let her rip.
Yeah. So basically, what happens in relationships is people call off the game. And my invitation to folks is, are you willing to keep the game going? And are you willing to invent new games? And I think at, the honeymoon period, when all you want to do is ravage each other and have as much sex as possible because you can't believe how connected and alive and in love you feel. What happens is after like 6 months to a year, that the new game, the experience of this new body, this new partnership, or, if it's a polyamorous relationship, the new bodies, it kind of can get, for some people, old or routine, or there's just only a certain amount of energy that people's bodies and minds can handle. So there's this like upper limit or thermostat where people can experience a certain amount of pleasure and joy, and then that's their max, that's their limit. Like there's a resonance that that people can kind of live in, their thermostat, right? So when two or more people come together, the increase of that energy, the increase of that connection can be a system overload. So then what I've seen and what I've experienced myself in my own marriage is this calling off the game, like, well, too much closeness, too much intensity, too much great sex. I'm gonna like invent this drama to call off the game so that I can recalibrate my system. And so what I invite people to do is grow a nervous system, commit to growing a nervous system that can enjoy more and more energy.
Yeah, I can see people get caught in a rut sometimes. And what you said about growing a new nervous system, that is actually what's really happening, because, you can develop new neural connections in the brain where you can tap into some of these things that comes out of memory, and that could make it exciting again.
Exactly. And that's how you keep the game going, is by how do you make it exciting again? Well, are you willing to invent new games? Are you willing to change it up in the bedroom? Do you sleep on the same side of the bed every night? What would happen if you slept on the other side of the bed? What would happen if are you always on top during lovemaking? What would happen if you changed it up? What if you were willing to create a lovemaking session where there's no penetration at all? What if it was an energetic lovemaking session where maybe you're not even touching each other? What if you're making love from across the room? And what would that look like?
Now you're getting into Tantra yoga. That sounds interesting.
Right? Yeah. Tantra, breathing, What if you are willing to create a new game, a new sexual game where you get a little kinky, where you do something that may be something that is taboo in your experience. And something I love about changing things up, creating new games, is the creativity that can come from that, because sexuality is, and your sexual feelings, that comes from the same place as your aliveness, as your creativity, as your happiness and joy, but also it comes from the same place as your fear, as sadness, anger. That pool of aliveness, that source of creativity, is like a hose. And so what I invite people to do to keep their honeymoon period going is to keep that, well, to fine tune what they do with their hose. You know, are you kinking it off? What about your nozzle? Are you directing your attention and your nozzle towards drama and chaos? Or are you willing to create a context that relating and relationships can be easy and fun?
Yeah, and how about maybe combining lovemaking with yoga positions, or just getting out back in the yard and getting the hammock, both of you? How about that?
You know what's so funny is I just looked out my window and I'm looking at our hammock, and it's a 2-person hammock. And exactly, yeah, bringing your, like, you know how yoga is about turning inward and giving yourself attention and moving the body in ways that can be so pleasurable. Well, I feel like that is same for relationships. Giving each other nourishing attention, moving bodies together in pleasurable ways. And something that I have always loved is partner yoga. And in fact, for when I did my 200-hour yoga teacher training, my graduation project at the end of that was a partner yoga class that I designed. And so creating a yoga practice together in partnership. And it could be platonic too, but also just satisfying that touch deficit and creating moments where partners can breathe, stretch, and then, maybe a partner yoga session turns into a lovemaking session where in a certain yoga pose there's like, what about naked partner yoga? I love that idea.
Wow. Where do you keep those classes? I'll be right over.
Oh my gosh, that is a great idea. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll design that one for the very near future. I mean, I'm all about like play parties and couples finding ways to spice things up, especially in the kink world and kinky lovemaking, like play parties and sex parties. Those are a thing, right? And how cool would it be to have like a naked partner yoga where people are start out in a very conscious, thriving tantra breathing experience, and then who knows what could happen from there.
Yeah, and I think though that this sounds pretty racy, but there is some can be peace in it. There can be good thoughts in it, and if you keep your mind clean, so to speak, you can actually get a very good experience out of it. You don't have to go too far out of your comfort zone actually to participate.
Yeah, and in yoga, one of there are these 10 tenets that are the yamas and the niyamas, and one of them is brahmacharya, which way back when it was basically no sex, brahmacharya. Mm-hmm. But now That's old school yoga, and kind of new school yoga. We talk about brahmacharya as a way to sort of live in moderation and to be really mindful what you do with your sexual energy. And so that I think matches exactly what you were just saying.
And you mentioned that that type of yoga where you had no sexual activity, you can then channel that energy that is developed in the mind. If you channel that right, you actually direct it to things that can do some amazing things. Same thing in meditation. You can direct energy you create there too towards certain things.
Right, exactly. And that kind of goes back to this nozzle, right? The ideal of the hose and the nozzle and your flow of energy. And in yoga, they call it the sushumna, like your central channel of energy. And so like really tapping into as growing that nervous system that can enjoy more and more energy. So then again, tapping into the idea that our bodies can create a flow, and in relationships, when we get stuck, we're cutting off that flow, right? When I get stuck, I'm cutting off my aliveness, I'm cutting off my flow of energy. So how do I open the flow? How do I get unstuck? And movement and even just something as simple as wiggling your fingers and toes, or feeling your feet on the ground, or placing your hands on your body somewhere, like that those little movements can open the hose and open the flow of energy, and then open the flow of energy between two people.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people. Go ahead.
Yeah, what is the best way to? Not tonight, honey. I got a headache. Is there a better way to get rid of that syndrome?
Well, agreements are the foundation for all healthy relationships. If there's clear agreements, a lot of relationship drama just falls away. And so, what are your agreements around sex? What do you have an agreement that is like, well, is there something you'd rather be doing? That's a wonderful agreement that in my training with the Hendricks Institute that I've experienced as a great way to solve that problem. Is there something you'd rather be doing than lovemaking? And so if one person wants to do it and the other doesn't, there is that question, like, what would you rather be doing than connecting with me? And then that goes back to the agreements. Like, what is the agreement here? Is the agreement that we're going to get as close as we can in this relationship? Or is the agreement, are you willing to create closeness and clear up anything in the way that might be getting in the way of that? So, and then that is a common, like, I don't feel like it, I'm tired. I think that's a perfect example of, like, kinking the hose. Like, blocking my flow of energy, blocking my sexual energy. And then, maybe the person who doesn't feel like doing it in the way that the other person is asking for. And so there's ways to keep the game going. There's ways to create new sexual games and enliven that sexual energy. Because if someone is tired, there is still a way to be the receiver of sexual pleasure. And if someone is like, I really don't feel like doing it, well, what if the person who wants to, who's instigating the sexual energy, takes a feather and takes the feather all along the person who's tired body? That's sex, like just being open to receiving that is sex. So there's lots of practices that can become not just like, penetrative sex, but like practices that can give both partners what they need and want in the relationship, where everybody feels like they're winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how about something like maybe if one partner would not want to, then the other one maybe suggests that let's sit up and let's meditate for 3 or 4 minutes together and just sit face to face and hold hands and transfer energy back and forth. So the one that has the energy, the positive energy towards sex, could transfer some of that energy to the other one, and then maybe they can both agree on thinking about something really positive and just loving about the other person. There are so many different things we can do like this, and I'm sure you probably deal with things like that, and that sounds like a good suggestion to me.
Yeah, and what I've found over and over again is some people are glommers and some people are splitters, and some what I'm trying to say here about that is some people need more space than other people, and some people need more contact and more touch. So the glommers probably would be on the wanting to have sex every night scale, and the splitters might just need a little bit more space than that. And oftentimes glommers and splitters get together, and so there's that one person who wants more sex, and so
there's compromise there too. That the every night thing, that's it's nice for a while, but after a while, chances are maybe a little less will be all right, because you got to both agree on something. Otherwise, it's just can create barriers and goofy things happen.
Yeah, and I honestly, like, I don't even feel like compromise is something that I invite people to do in their relationships, because I want everybody to feel like they're winning. I want everybody to feel like they're enjoying their relationships. So so yeah, and what you said about coming back to the agreement, the agreement is what is the foundation of the relationships. And the agreement to, okay, if I need space, if I need to go to sleep, if I want you to basically leave me alone, are you going to get your feelings hurt, or is this an honoring of each other's needs? And people can get so creative on how to keep the game going, the basic toss, like, all right, I don't feel like it tonight, but guess what? In the morning, I'll have more energy or something like this. So making agreements, keeping the game going, and then being willing to be really conscious and present with each other. When we go unconscious, that's kind of when a lot of the problems happen.
Yeah. And you can actually do a lot of yoga in the bed too. Oh,
absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like the asana, like so many of sexual positions are like founded in a yoga shape, in an asana shape of the body. It's quite beautiful how we've evolved and how we've grown as humans, right? And how sex is how we have evolved. I mean, how we were born.
Yeah. And I see now that we got just here over 2 minutes left of the show. So would you tell people where they can get a hold of you, your web address and phone number, email, whatever you want to give out? I'm sure that there's some people out there that want to talk to you.
Yeah. Well, my website is consciouslovinglab.com, and my email address is consciouslovinglab@gmail.com. I'm actually offering a relationship rejuvenation retreat. And so if you go to relationshiprejuvenation.com, you can see me and my co-host, and we're actually launching that tomorrow. We've interviewed all of these really famous experts. And so I feel very excited about sharing all of the information that I have learned and discovered with those folks. And cloud9yoga.com is my yoga family. I love talking about love, and so you can check me out on Facebook too at Crystal Dawn Ananda, and Instagram at love_coach_Crystal_Dawn.
Okay, all right. Well, we are down to the end here of the show, and I suggest you folks make your life better. Give her a call or check her out on anywhere where she has mentioned and where you will find her. And this sounds like a really nifty place to visit. So you go ahead and do it. And I'm going to look it out too. So till next week, we will back here. And thank you very much, Crystal, for being with us. And then next week, we will be back here. And until then, be good to each other.
This has been the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Your weekly guide to a deeper understanding of the all that we are.
Well, in a few years, it will be a matter of common sense for very many people that they're one with the universe. It'll be so simple.
Live Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, hosts, or their guests, please visit universal-consciousness-show.com. That's universal-consciousness-show.com. Remember, there's a shift coming. A new earthly paradigm. A shift to universal consciousness.
Universal consciousness.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This